everybody, and welcome back to our coverage of the third and final season of Squid Game here on We Know Scripted TV and Nothing But Netflix. My name is Mike Bloom, as episode 4 is in the books already. It's been a hop, a skip, and a jump to get through these episodes of Squid Game. In this case, quite literally, as we are encroaching upon the final game and the final 2 episodes of this show, period. As per usual, we have a lot to get into as we get into 222, and I am too happy to be talking with this guy every day about Squid Game. It's Chappell.
Mike, we're almost done. We're almost there. We almost made it to the end, and we kind of can see where we're going. We got some plot twists. We have some devastating losses in this episode, and now we have something to look forward to for episode 5 and 6. Very excited to talk to you about it, especially with the continuation and our new continuation player, 222 Part 2.
Exactly.
Second.
Who would have thought that Nepo babies would get brought into the discussion on a Squid Game? But here we have one in the form of 222's legacy being continued. We are down to the final 8, or is it final 9? Though we will see if a certain proposition is accepted. It might be down to a final 2 sooner rather than later. And here's the thing, Chappelle, of course, in a show like Squid Game, a body count is going to be amassed, and sometimes you have the heartbreaking loss that you might experience in the sacrifice that Jung-jae makes at the beginning of this episode. But then sometimes you get almost the experience of taking one of Thanos' pills as your heart soars with joy, at least from our perspective, as at long last, after what has felt like an eternity, Captain Park has not only been discovered, he is dead. The rare out of games death here on Squid Games.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Throughout this episode, I just thought we weren't going to get it. I didn't think it was going to happen. They really led me to believing that, Woosak was in the precinct, really just trying to get these cops to do their damn jobs. And they were doing everything in their power to do the opposite. They're like, oh, you mean to tell me this guy is like a part of some criminal, like a crime ring that's doing secret things and murdering people and stuff like that? We should call him on the phone and let him know you're on to him. How about that? I was screaming like, oh my God, do something. And so, yes, we finally got the end of Captain Park. Thank God, because for a minute, I was worried.
Yeah, I mean, it was really rough sledding. Obviously, Woosak had everything going against him. We've experienced a number of times the fact that anyone who brings this type of story to the police, they don't believe them. Even if at this point, they should probably have like a running Rolodex of like, okay, we see Gi-hun came to us with this information a couple of years ago. We have one of our detectives that was adamantly pursuing this case behind our backs. This guy's also talking about pink jumpsuits. Like, maybe something's going on here. But again, as they talked about, maybe those taxpayer dollars don't go terribly far. I mean, I think the true hero of this storyline, Chappelle, is not Junho, not even Woosak. Is it Siri? And I don't want to say anything to activate devices that anyone might have on if they have this on speakerphone, but like, if she does not page that call as he is running from the police, then Junho finally is not able to put 2 and 2, speaking of 222, together and harpoon this guy through the chest. So we will get to, again, the catharsis much later on from that. But a nice bit of, happiness to balance out the sadness and some incredible intrigue. As you mentioned, we got through game 4. It understandably resulted in an extreme amount of loss. Not as much loss, I would say, as the anti-penultimate game or the penultimate game from the previous iteration of the Squid Game, which left only 3 players remaining. Now we have 8 that burgeoned into 9, as it turns out that, yeah, these poor debt-ridden individuals have to deal with a matter of inheritance, in that when the VIPs declared last time that 222 and her baby should become separate players, it ends up sort of happening and not at the same time, as yes, the baby technically is a player, but she inherits her mother's number. The legacy continues, at least for the next little while, because a lot of these dude bros that are left, Chappelle, they've got dollar signs and murdered babies in their eyes.
This is tough because I was advocating for 222's baby to have a price on its head, basically, in last episode. Because I felt like, why would you put the baby in and the baby has no opportunity to win the money? You know, if Junhee makes it across with her baby, let's say she wins the entire thing, she had an additional, like a tag along to make sure it got across the finish line. So she should get more money. So now that she's gone, I'm thinking the baby is still in the game. It's even wrapped in her jacket symbolically, but also not so much, so I am a fan of them doing this. I didn't like that the front man had to step in and let the VIPs know like this is what's going to happen, because they really were debating like, all right, well, she's gone, we might as well just kill the baby. What? Then why did you make her participate with the baby? What was the point? You should have just told her, sit the baby down somewhere, and then if you don't make it, then don't worry about it. The baby's not in it. The baby can't be in the game sometime and not in the game sometimes either. So that's why I was like, the moment you said this baby needs to make it across this jump rope thing or else, I feel like the baby should have a fair shot at winning, just like everybody else.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of semantics going on with like, well, technically they crossed the finish line separately, and like the rule is you can't kill a player once they cross the finish line, but is the baby a player, et cetera, et cetera. So good on Inho for making that call in the moment, and it has led to, I would say, despite, again, the dark circumstances of what Gi-hun is facing going into next episode, some hilarious circumstances. This is another reason why I think we wanted this to happen. We manifested this as recent as last season of like, oh my God, if she has the baby, they better give it a little jumpsuit. Now, look, the baby did not get a little tuxedo, which made me so disappointed, perhaps equally as much as losing her mother, was the fact that they did not call an overnight tailor to get this little baby a tuxedo. But when we get the final dinner and this baby gets what I'm going to assume is formula, and look, I'm obviously in no place to talk from in an area of expertise as to like newborns and what they need immediate care for. I mean, I would imagine that's formula, because I think the other option would just be incredibly sad of what you would have to harvest off of your dead
Oh my
mother.
God. Yeah, when they were feeding everyone is eating steak. They're having like fine dining. It's their last meal, a lot of their last meals. And I was thinking the whole time, who's going to feed this baby? Now, y'all decided to keep this baby in the game, but y'all haven't actually worked out who is going to breastfeed this child. And then they show up and they have the baby in like almost like a little formal like bottle, and it has its own little hot plate. And yep. I was like, oh, this is precious. And then they send out one of the soldiers to come and feed the baby. I was like, I don't even know. Like, okay, shout out to the baby. I'm happy the baby's getting fed. But like, is this the finest of milks? Like, I feel like everybody else is really.
Yeah, where's the milk coming from here?
Right, where are we getting it from? Like, and so I was like, maybe this is formula. Who knows? But yeah, this baby is getting treated really well for it to be roughly a day old, and for its life to be in danger. I'm very happy that they looked out for the baby, because for a second I really was thinking, so y'all just didn't like, is someone going to be over there chewing up the food and mashing it up till the baby can eat it? Like, I was trying to figure out where they were going to get this from. Where did they get the baby bottle from? They overnighted that. They couldn't get the suit.
I don't know. Again, they have different priorities, I suppose, when it comes to taking care of this child. I mean, luckily, we are without the child being in danger for at least the overnight portion, because, again, the powers that be stepped in and said that there will not be any violence against other players overnight.
Well, Mike, that's BS. So that really pissed me off too.
Oh!
So yeah, well, look, I don't want them to fight or kill the baby. I don't want anybody to die between the games. But them coming out and being like, it's our priority that everybody has a fair chance. So since when? Since when? These people have been killing each other in bathrooms and fighting.
Yeah, but that's what they always say, right? They always say, well, because you did this thing and it made it for an unfair chance for everybody, therefore you have broken the rules and you're eliminated. I think it's just that discernment of the term fair has always been up for grabs when it comes to these soldiers.
Yeah, well, they definitely shut this down. Like, oh no, it wouldn't be fair for y'all to try to kill people in the night. That's not how we do things here on Squid Game. And I was thinking, yes, it is. This is exactly how you do things. It's how you've been doing things. But now all of a sudden, you need your baby in the finale because it's good TV, and you don't want anybody to mess that up.
Yeah. I also love the line where when they do the voting, the adjudicator says player 222 will be considered to have abstained due to their inability to make decisions. Like,
right.
Yeah, listen, this baby was born into being a non-voter. Incredibly relatable, and tragically so.
And it's tough because, again, if the baby could vote, we'd assume that the baby would vote, hey, let's get out of here. But we also it wouldn't even matter because they don't have the numbers to make this vote go through. They knew they wouldn't. The front man knew they wouldn't. It's like, look, most of these people are going to want to play the next game because, Mike, there's a plot twist here. We're gonna give them a little secret. We're gonna give them a little tidbit of information. You get to choose who dies, and so why wouldn't you want to continue?
Right, exactly. And we'll get into that in a little bit. I do want to briefly just dote upon the conclusion of Jump Rope, which ended in a predictably bloody fashion. But let's talk about how predictable, I would say, with no offense to the many people that fell to their death, the, biggest loss should be, which is the titular 222 here, 222 senior, we should say,
Mm-hmm.
in Junhee. This is something that you and I have clocked for a while. The ankle injury that she sustained, Gi-hun had every intention to go back there and, again, maybe piggyback her, maybe do like a fireman's carry to try to make his way back across. MG Coin is going to offer in a rather acrimonious final discussion between the two of them, but showcasing her sort of independence that she came into Squid Game with. She rebuffs him, and she basically tells Gi-hun, like, yeah, listen, dude, I know you are fantastical AF when it comes to keeping everybody safe, but there is 1 minute left on that clock. Number 96 really took his damn time keeping everyone distracted on that jump rope. So you've got to move forward with the child. I know you promised to protect me and her. Fortunately, it's only going to be a 50% return rate as she decides to take that one step towards her own loss of life.
So there is the moment where MG Coin is like, "Hey, I want to help you," and she's like, "Really? With this bad ankle?" And this loser, I'm sorry, this man sucks. This dude is the worst. I'm about to just drag MG Coin throughout this episode. I'm sure he'll have some type of redemption next episode.
Wait, we'll talk about that. I think they're very much
Right.
setting him up to like sacrifice himself or kill some other people so that his child can survive.
I think it's coming, but right now he's not. Right now, this man is being a loser ass bitch. Because this woman's like, I have a bad ankle. You really gonna help me? And he just freezes up. And she goes, you know what? Honestly, I don't want nothing to do with you. Stay away from me and my baby. I'm gonna give my baby to that gentleman over there. That stranger is gonna take care of my
I'd rather
child.
die on my one good ankle than live on my knees.
Exactly, especially to you because you suck. And so she very much tells him to go to hell, and he goes ahead, crosses the bridge, and then watches somebody else adopt his child right in front of him. And then, Mike, and then this loser, when it's time to vote, when you know the people are plotting to kill your child, the rule of the game is 3 of you must die, and your child is across the room, a sitting duck. You're like, nah, let's play the game. What the hell is wrong with him? What is wrong with this man?
I'm trying to remember what order he voted in. I mean, it could be the case, and I'm not defending this man whatsoever because Lord knows he needs about like 3 of the knives that he killed so many people with to defend himself at this point. But like, maybe he saw the writing on the wall, right? He knew that many of the guys that survived had, again, the final game dancing in front of them, the appeal of just getting rid of a few people, and then they could be billions of won richer. And so it's something that we see sometimes in reality TV. He voted with the house. Maybe he felt like, all right, the die is cast. And as we saw, just so happened that 3 people or 2 people voted against and 1 abstained from voting. And so I think, this alliance that gets formed between these 6 players is about as flimsy as that bridge was at the end of the day. But is MG Coin one of these types to be like, yeah, I'm just going to hide in the majority and then try to make my move later on?
This man sucks, Mike. I'm sorry. If 456 votes no, right? He's like, I want out. Makes sense. 353, we don't know him. He says yes. 336 says yes. MG Coin goes next. And he's like, nah, let's play the game. We're like, listen, I would have been like, look, I'm that baby's daddy. I'm the father of that child. I will decide if my child is like, stand up for yourself. Do something. The baby abstains. The baby does not abstain. I'm his father. I'm the baby's dad. The baby says no. We are now like, at least tie it up. See what happens. At least I don't know what this boy. Oh my God. I was so frustrated with him. And then to go and spend his time conspiring with the conspiring bitches who are trying to kill his baby. And then he's like over there, like, put your hands in, swear. And he's doing it. Look, okay. I understand you're trying to play a covert game
Peer
here.
pressure, Chappell.
But look, that's your baby. That is your baby. And you watching this other man raise your child in front of you. It's only day 2. This baby been alive for 2 days. You have first, let me go back. Let's go back to the jump rope. He tells Junhee, I'm like, look, I want to help you. I want to help you and this child. I want to be there. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Let's take a vote. Let's run off and we can raise this baby together. If I'm her, I'm looking at him like, sir, you haven't even introduced yourself to the child.
Yep.
We've been here for a whole day. You ain't came over. You ain't held the baby. You ain't rocked the baby. You ain't look. I mean, can you carry the damn thing? Talk to it. And now all of a sudden you want me to leave you with my baby? Oh man, I'm so sick of him. I'm so sick of MG Coin.
Maybe he's just taking Junhee's final words to him at face value, right? She
Right.
says, that baby is mine. That baby has nothing to do with trash like you. Suffice
he
to
said,
say,
okay.
again, we were waiting for this. But yeah, she's quite a bit miffed that he did stab needlessly 120 and kill her. When, again, he was needlessly killing
didn't really
many,
know.
many people. I mean, she asked him, did you do it for the money? And yeah, the way at least that Namgyu had posed it to him, it kind of seemed like he was doing it. He's going to keep, again, so we keep bringing this back to Walter White, but like try to bring it back to this mentality of, well, I'm doing it for my child, I'm doing it for Junhee, whatever helps you sleep better at night. But at the end of the day, I think there is this inherent sense of greediness. Let's remember the entire reason this man got into these green jumpsuits in the first place is because he was this big crypto guy who made the wrong call and publicized it to everybody and might have pumped and dumped some stock on his own, but crashed everybody's lives in the process.
Yeah, she does ask him about, how he took out her friend, and he says, how was I supposed to know? And I was kind of with him on that. Like I told you, like her back was turned, like he didn't know what had happened, what led up to that moment. He was just stabbing it because he said, I promise I'm going to look out for you. Now, is that completely true? There probably, a little bit of just like, it's greed, it's money, it's also a game, I need to kill some of these people. But I can't trust anything he says because this man on the one hand is saying, I want to be there for you and my baby, I want to protect you, da-da-da-da-da. And then we see him doing things that seem like they're to the contrary, right? Like waiting to the last minute to go over there and be like, all right, let me help you. Sir, you could have been doing, some of these people are pushing people off of the bridge. They're pushing them off why didn't you do that? Why haven't you started pushing people off? You didn't have any problem murdering people
why did you not take a page from 203's book and start like Leonidasing people into the pit?
Yeah, why not? I really want to understand that because last game you had no issue walking around killing people. It was okay. The numbers made sense. Namgyu's gone, and all of a sudden now you don't have a backbone. You're just going, I'm just gonna sit here and let the time run out. This lady needs to get across this thing. She's clearly not able to. And if you got rid of some of these people, I'm not advocating for the deaths of these people. Except for 100, he could go. And some of the other people, honestly, they could all go. All of these people can go except for our heroes. And but I really felt like this felt like such a half measure for him. Waiting until the 13th hour to come over and be like, so you want some help? You think I got you? It's like you didn't have me when the baby needed to get across. Kyo got the baby, So,
again, it's I call them the Huda and Jeremiah of Squid Game. This reminds me so much of when, Huda was up for elimination and Jeremiah took like an entire ass night to finally approach her and be like, hey, you doing okay? Like, yes, this feels obligatory, but like the timing helps with a lot of these things. I will also say on the note of Junhee's death, we don't make a lot of note about it, but Squid Game can have some really beautiful cinematography and imagery at certain points. And I flagged a couple here. The still image of like Junhee and Gi-hun on different sides of the bridge with, the big ass dolls in the background, I thought was so beautiful. The wide shot that pans out of her lying dead on this flower laden floor as, the blood pools around her head. Again, there is beauty to be found in a lot of the gruesome imagery that occurs on this show. And for such sort of a flower herself, I would say one of the rather more innocent characters that existed within the 456 players of this iteration of Squid Game. It felt like a proper way to send her off.
Yeah, I mean, not to just like harp on the camera work either, but like even the stuff with the jump roping, that was kind of cool to watch in the real time. Like I think that I don't know how they did it, whatever.
Yep.
They're smarter people than me, but every time the jump rope comes around and you kind of see them wobbling and things like that, it was all like very cool. I think that episode was very cool in general. But yeah, we say goodbye to, I guess, one of, Squid Game does a really good job of creating people that you do care about in this in
Mhm.
this world in a short amount of time. We don't have that many episodes. This time we've had 2 seasons to kind of sit with some of these characters, and I think that although she's been a very quiet character, it's been really easy to empathize with her story, seeing that she is pregnant and kind of seeing the struggles that she's going through. Like her story has kind of been front row center for a lot of the show, considering her
Right.
baby daddy's right there. She is pregnant. She's carrying the child, and there are a lot of people have like circled the wagons around making sure that she's okay. And so, yeah, this is kind of like the final little hurrah for her and her storyline, and also for anybody outside of Gi-hun that we really should care about in the Squid Game. Now, don't get me wrong, my boy Min Soo is still there,
You
but
see, though, mentally he might not be. This
I
dude
think
is
he's
going
done.
through it.
I think he's done. The Molly is hitting too hard. The withdrawals are kicking in or something, because this man is struggling. So, we're really down to, can Ki-hun get out of here with his baby? Like, that is really
Yeah.
what the story is. The rest of these people will either die or get voted out or something like that. But like, he is the one. He is our only rooting interest right now. And then we have, of course, the backdrop of the outside of the island stuff that is now finally coming to the island.
Well, let's talk about what you mentioned before. We go from someone who was expecting to what we should expect in the final game coming up the next day, assumingly so, depending on whether Ki-hun goes through with, Spanner that possibly will get thrown into the works that we'll talk about later on. So, again, we had sort of made the assumption that the final game would be, as it was in season one, the titular Squid Game, this sort of like one on
Mm-hmm.
one attack defense showdown. That appears to not be the case. Again, as you alluded to, there was one big carrot dangled in front of these players before they voted one last time, that tomorrow's game, they will have an ability to choose who will be eliminated. That at least 3 players need to be eliminated from this game, and whoever is left alive will walk out far from empty handed. And obviously, this is going to be greedy enough to convince these players to keep going. All they really required, much like we saw with number 96, was the smallest push. And this happened in the case of, you got so far here by being so talented at what you do. Just do it one more time. Make an easy alliance and you all walk out with billions of won in tow. I don't know, Chappell. I don't know if you've gone through your Rolodex of childhood games to think about what it could possibly be. I thought one of the guys had a really salient point where he's like, yeah, I mean, they said that basically, like, we could determine who gets eliminated, but for all we know, it could be a game where any of us go, and just having strength in numbers would help and not necessarily guarantee a win. Is there anything going through your brain right now before we find out what the final game is as to what this could be?
No telling, honestly, because season one, they were doing a lot of games that we'd seen before. We know red light, green light. We know the hopscotch of it all with the bridge,
Hmm.
things like that. But then by the time we get to Squid Game, that's not, to me, that's not a game that I grew up with. I'm sure it's a cultural thing, but like, I didn't grow up with Squid Game, so I didn't know that was a possibility. Like, we knew the title of the show was Squid Game, but I didn't know, like, for me, that's never something I would have conceptualized, I guess. And so
Hmm.
I don't know if there's another Korean game or something like that that might be coming up, or if we're going to be doing something where it's going to be something like extremely popular, maybe like a dodgeball or something like that. Like, who knows? But like, I feel like a team is going to be beneficial regardless of what the choice is. I really do. And so, especially if you can eliminate 3 people off the bat, if you can eliminate 3 people immediately, then at least by then you know that, okay, we could just quit. Like, the game can just end at some point. I don't think it will. I don't think you can trust these thieves and these crooks, especially with 100 being there and being just short of the 10 billion won that he needs. So I highly doubt it's 3 people and out. I think that they're going to turn on each other before the end of whatever this game is.
Yeah, I mean, I expect that 100 would actually want to bow out because again, this is a man who hasn't really ever succeeded in any of the skills required in this game besides like just surviving and being able to convince like rile up the numbers, and that's very
Mhm.
powerful, the power of persuasion. But at the same time, I mean, listen, like Gi-hun was fighting off number 96 to prevent him from
Mhm.
killing any more people. He got number 100 across, and 100 just sat there. He's like,
Yep.
not my fight. I'm not a part of this. Like, he clearly was maybe a little fine with what number 96 was doing as long as he came across, as long as it ain't me. And so I'm not sure. I could see him maybe try to get rid of like one more person because to your point, he is 10 billion won in debt, but he might get too greedy here. He might ask for one more card to hit him at the blackjack table and then get hit by quite the fatal move in response.
I hope so. I hate him so much. Like I'm rooting against this man in all since like in every term. Any game I'm rooting against him, I want him to lose. But if they kill 3 people and then they end the game, they will each get 7.6 billion won. And I think they announced that for a reason because we know they reminded us in this episode that this man is 10 billion in debt.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it starts at 3 until he looks around and sees a couple other weak links. We meet like a couple of these other red shirts, even though they're wearing green jumpsuits. And there are a couple of them that don't really look like they're up to par. There's the one guy who kind of struggles his way into the alliance. MG Coin kind of feels like he's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I wouldn't be surprised if 100 decides like if we can't get 456 and 222, then what if I just take out 3 of y'all? What if I team up with them? Now, I don't think he's going to survive it, but that honestly might be a better plan. But where these people they're not concerned about you, take them out. That'll be your 3, and then you can go on and vote people out, and then just go home. Go home. We don't never have to see what the last game is.
Do you suspect Minso will play any sort of role in this final game? Like, there's a chance that maybe he like hulks out and just starts to freak out and take out a few guys along the way, and that could be your 3 as well.
I drafted him before I knew he was a junkie. I really was very proud of him. Like, okay, Minsu, he's taking his power back. And now they're calling him the junkie. This man has done drugs twice in front of these people, and he's already hit junkie status. He's like jumped right into the deep end. And so I think that he might have some crackhead strength in him. He might have some of that. But I don't know. That's not long term. You can't rely on that for long term. Like, I don't think Minsu's making it out of here anymore. And especially because Gi-hun is incentivized to get it down to the final 2. The game cannot be played with 2 people. And if there's going to be a final 2, it will be him and 222, the baby. And so there's no room for Minsu in that. So I don't know. Maybe he'll take out somebody. I hope he does. But he's down bad. Like, he's like the little weak antelope that the lions pick off. Like, the hyenas pick off. Like, yeah, can I get that little sick one? That's Minsu right now.
Yeah, but also, like, that antelope can bite back if it feels like it's in danger, might gore a couple people on the way out. Well, to your point, we might not even need to speculate about how the final game goes because of an offer that is made at the end of this episode in what I would say, Chappell, was the highlight of this installment of Squid Game for me. And I was wondering when Gi-hun would come face to face with Inho again. Would it come after he has won the game again? And I was quite surprised not only to have this come prior to the final game, but for Inho to be quite literally mask off in this conversation, that he decides to really get Gi-hun in a real riled up place by saying, oh, hey, by the way, it's me, number 1, the guy that duped you the entire time, that killed your best friend in front of you. Doesn't that make you mad? Doesn't that make you mad enough to kill all the people that want to kill you and the baby overnight? Chappell, talk to me about your thoughts on these 2 finally coming face to face for the first time in season 3.
No, I can't talk about this because it makes me so angry. It makes me so angry. This man is like, hey, before you go, you still got faith in people? I was like, oh God, stab him, kill him, kill that man. Like,
talk about twisting the knife, which he hopes that Gi-hun does to everybody else.
The level of restraint Gi-hun has, because why didn't he lunge at him and just stab him in the face? I just like that.
As he said, like, you can kill me, but another guy's just going to take my place.
I would kill him. I would kill him. I think it's time. I think it's time. At this point, the odds are against you. It's you and a baby versus eight crazy people, or like well, yeah, and it's yeah, no, kill him, take him. This is your chance. F the insurrection. This is your moment. At least take him hostage. Do something. You know, like I don't know. That was like this. Ooh, bridge too far for me. And not an exploding bridge, but just it felt like it really because he says, sorry for Jung-jae, you know, my bad, but like. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you and the baby. I just feel like he missed everything he was saying. You know, it's like he's seeing red, his ears are whistling. Like this man is talking, all you hear like womp 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 womp. Like yep. I'm like, kill him, kill him, kill him. So yeah, he is giving him a knife. He says, all you have to do is go and kill all those people in the night. And then when we get ready to start the game tomorrow, there won't be enough people to play the game because it takes at least 3 people. Now, I'm not quite sure what game takes at least 3 people, but okay. And so it would be you and the baby. And then y'all can just go home. We would have no choice but to end this. So here you go. Here's a knife. And now you need to prove to us, how good are people? You know, are you doing the good thing? Are you doing the honorable thing by slitting these people's throats in the night so that you and this baby can walk away with all this money? Or are you just as bad as them? Are you just as bad as the person who was pushing people off of the bridge, the people who killed people in the bathrooms, all these people who've been trying to make their odds better in the voting? The people who shot the people who were locking them out of the rooms in the first challenge. Like, are you better than them or are you just the same? And he's going to leave him to ponder that as the episode ends. And I just felt like, I don't know, like, yeah, you got to stab him in the face, but you also got to beat his ass. Like, you got to fight, you know, you have to. This is embarrassing. Like, this man has played in your face for the last time. Like, I am all in on these last 2 episodes. You got to kill this man, but you got to, I mean, the way you did homeboy who ran off, I can't even remember his name. The way you did, what was it? Jung-jae? Which one? Daeho. The way you did Daeho, you need to reserve that same energy for Inho. This man, I'm sorry, this really pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie to you. The episode ended, I was just like, press next. Keep going.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to stew in the anger, much like Gi-hun does as he, slowly marinates in the decision. I'm also wondering Inho's headspace at this point, and I wonder if some of this is Chappell based on what we know of Inho's backstory, or so what he told us. If you don't remember, in season 2, when Inho was still undercover, he told this story about how his wife was pregnant with his child and she was diagnosed with this like fatal liver disease. And so he borrowed a bunch of money to try to get a surgery to save her and the child's life. He ends up getting heavily in debt from like a criminal overlord that sends him into the games in the first place. And then after he wins, much like Gi-hun, he gets the money, but it's too late as his wife is dead. There's a non-zero chance that like he looks at the new 222 new, if you will, and is sort of like, this is looking at another version of myself, had the die of fate not get cast in a certain direction. And maybe he has a bit of like, ought to say a soft spot, but like a bit of a vulnerability towards that type of story. And so maybe what he's telling Gi-hun has some candor in there, that he truly does feel like, okay, the child is in danger, and I don't want that to happen, and you especially don't want that to happen. So listen, we've worked together in the past. Here's how we're going to work together now on this game.
But you do want this to happen. You put the child in danger, you fool. You did this. The VIPs were like, hey, let's eliminate the baby. You could have said, I'm just going to remove the baby from the game. We're going to take the baby.
I could have pulled a Noel of like, oh, I definitely killed the baby. I'm going off now to put it in another room.
Right. Don't look at it. That guy in the red jumpsuit, the one that's crawling, that's definitely not the baby.
Just imagine the pink jumpsuit just crawling on the floor.
With a rifle. Yeah, like that's definitely not the baby. That's him. That's the surgeon, I promise. No, you had a chance to remove this baby from the mix. And even raise the baby as your own, to kind of replace your own losses, to even like train up the next front man. As he said, like, if I'm going, there's just going to be another one. This baby could have done all of that and more. But you were like, nah, let's vote on it. Let's keep the baby in the game. Let's see what happens. Let's see if these people will fight over the baby. He is toying with Gi-hun so much. And I don't know, it's some of that Ilnam that's in him as well,
Yeah.
where it's like he's just like his dad, where it's like this is all fun and games for him. It's like I just wanted to play the games one last time at the expense of all these people, and I still wanted to stand on this idea that people are bad. Bad people are doing bad things here, and I don't feel bad for them. And so, yeah, he wants Gi-hun to confront this idea. He doesn't care about this baby, and if anything, he should be trying to save this baby and rehabilitate himself. But I don't think he can. I think this is it. Like I think that there's like this world where Gi-hun wins the game, and then front man, you gotta die. You have to. There's no way that he ends the game, takes his money, and runs off into the sunset with this baby. This man will be tracking you for the rest of your life. Like I don't know where you're going to go, but you have a blood feud with this man that will never end. It's got to end here on the island this time around. I think we're about to see the death of the front man, and then maybe Gi-hun as well.
Well, let's talk about whether the blood will get spilled, let alone a blood feud, because Inho has been so correct on a lot of the predictions he has made. Now, he's been showrunner maybe for a couple of years at this point, so he has a lot of
Mm-hmm.
experience under his belt, but, he accurately clocks, for example, like, yeah, don't worry, they're still going to vote. Even throwing in the voting mechanism in the first place, I think he had a sense as to the way things were going to go and that the majority would vote O every single time by hook or by crook. So the
Mm-hmm.
question is, Chappell, is Inho correct in his prediction yet again in giving Gi-hun the knife? Because, again, the Dae-ho moment was significant in that it really
Mm-hmm.
felt like for one of the first times Gi-hun was like actively snuffing out the life of somebody else. We saw that happen a bit with Sungwoo in the final game in season 1, but again, he couldn't do it in the end.
Yeah.
Even with number 96, when he tosses him over his head onto the bridge, I don't think it's with the intention to be like,
No.
and I set him up and knocked him down, John Wick style. I mean, listen, he is able to dig his finger into an eye socket if need be. So I guess that is the question, right? Is Gi-hun willing to do this, in your opinion, under the guise of self-defense? As we mentioned a number of times, kill or be killed.
Yeah. I don't know. Because it's self-defense. So in your mind, you can kind of rationalize self-defense. Like it's either me or
But
you.
it's like premeditated self-defense, right? It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I assume you're coming after me, so allow me to come after you.
Right. But they're coming after him in the game, where it's like he would be coming after them before the game, like he's not going to be any better than the people that he has been like looking at crazy this entire time, or at least the ones we've been judging, the people who want to kill you when you're least suspecting it, the ones who want to attack you in your sleep, or attack you in the bathroom or something like that. He murdered his homeboy in a game about going to murder your friends. Like it was hide and seek. The whole point was you get like, it's like they gave him a pass. It was like the purge night. Okay, for one game only, you could just go kill somebody with your bare hands. He was like, perfect. That's perfect. There's somebody I've been meaning to get. But now he's saying, this is outside the bounds of the game. I'm giving you a contraband weapon, and I'm going to tell you to go do a dastardly thing in the middle of the night instead of playing like this honor amongst thieves game where, yeah, you don't have the numbers, but it's still within the bounds of the rules that everybody else is playing by. And the question is like, is he going to break that code or break those rules in order to ensure him and the baby will get further? I think there's a world where he could do that, but I think the math doesn't work out, Mike. I think that he could do that for like the bad guys that are coming
That's
for
the
him.
thing. Yeah, like I think that if he does go through with it, his mental maneuvering kind of stops at MG Coin, who like
Exactly.
for what it's worth, he didn't hear the last conversation. He didn't hear Junhee being like, GTFO, get away from me and my child. I think he might think, oh, this is somebody that Junhee would want to survive with. She would want the baby to leave with its father. And so
Mm-hmm.
the goal is, as Inho mentioned, not kill 3 people there and then, it's kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. I think that might be, for lack of a better term, a bridge too far for Gi-hun. That, to your point, he has been able to get blood on his hands, but it's been a very much 1v1. I have a certain grudge against you, and this is why I feel I have the rationale to do it. I don't know. And granted, I said this going into episode 2, and I was proven wrong, so it might be the case here. Also, metaing things a little bit. We do have 2 episodes left of the show,
We
not
do.
1 episode. Now, look, the finale might be an entirely different beast of its own. It would be kind of odd if the penultimate episode was the game's ending.
Yeah. And MG Coin isn't even the only person I would think you'd have a struggle with killing. What's he like? What did Minsu do to him? I think he's looking at both of them potentially as
And
like
Minsu
people
also
who,
voted X. He was the only one who
yeah,
voted alongside him.
if Minsu was your ally, for all I'm concerned, like they are planning on killing Minsu, you and the baby. It's the three of you versus the rest of them, including MG Coin. So yeah, I don't think he would go and murder all those people. But then, like you said, there's 2 episodes left, so that means we're probably going to see the last game, and there's going to be some iteration of probably the people we named and that baby, and maybe 1 or 2 of these other villain types, that we've kind of grown to know and dislike. So yeah, there's no world, I don't think, where we end this on the next episode as far as the games go. Yeah. Because I feel like that's the most important part of this. To me, the Junho stuff, like, okay, we'll get there, but the game really is the backdrop of the entire show. It's named after the game. I feel like you have to have the game at some point. Now, when he sits the baby down to go play the game, like while he's like at a handicap against 2 or 3 other people, that's going to be entertaining. But I think that also gives us a lot of content for these next 2 episodes. So I can see it happening.
Maybe it's like I don't know, like Duck Duck Goose is the one thing I'm thinking of where like you can determine who's the goose. Or maybe there's some sort of like version of Chinese checkers, the more of a Korean version where like everyone's on their own separate side of the board, but like you can make moves to kind of box out other people. Those are my 2 best guesses at this point. I'll be proven probably immediately wrong here. Let's talk about something that we've been proven right on. Let's get back to the Junho, Captain Park of it all. Can I just decry this man one more time, Chappell, for the absolute Fruit Loop dingus that he is? Because again, he has been sabotaging these efforts with the subtlety of the harpoon gun that ends up ending his miserable life. And so when they're having this meeting, Junho says, "Oh, I found the island where I was shot. It's probably in this area." Captain Park goes, "All right, big X. It's not in this area." And what the hell happens, Chappell, when he finally is dead? And they're like, the island could be anywhere. Let me look in the exact intersection of the 2 lines that this dumbass captain drew, and that's where the island is. Whether it was unconscious or not, it was still stupidity.
It's only stupid because it didn't work. Because for a second, Mike, it worked. When he drew that X over there, like Junho immediately should have been like, and that's where I need to go.
Yep.
Like Junho was still like, all right, cool, bet we won't try there. If it wasn't for Woosak, who is doing the Lord's work, who is calling,
who's probably facing many, many years of jail time for many reasons now in the defiance of the police force.
He snatches his phone, hands handcuffed together, screaming, "This man cannot be trusted! Oh my God, you get away from him!" It's like. And then Junho's like, "Oh, damn, you're right. I bet he's been leading me astray this whole time." And he's like, "I wonder where the map." It all comes crashing down and making sense right at that point. But when, as you said, when Captain Park did it, it even looked like his heart wasn't even in it. Like, well, definitely don't check over here. Like,
yeah, maybe Captain Park secretly liked Junho. A little bit of like Stockholm syndrome. Like, you know what? I like this guy too. I love this family, love his brother. What's not to like about Junho? Maybe I'll help him a little bit. I'll try to go easy on him. I'll pull my punches a bit, not fully, show how surreptitious I can be. But even for Junho, listen, he does what needs to be done at the end of the day. He finds the harpoon gun after finally figuring out that Captain Park is up to no good. So what happens next here, Chappell? Because we have a whole ass boat that doesn't have a captain. It is him and seemingly this like head mercenary or like the drone pilot that got brought back on. So it's up to them to navigate the boat to the island. Do we imagine that we're just going to kind of hand wave some plot holy stuff and be like, yeah, they figure out how to drive a boat enough to get there?
Yeah, I feel like driving the boat is probably the easiest part. They're gonna figure that out, and then like our other guy, our
246,
246 is gonna come across their paths, and they're gonna know exactly which direction to go. Oh, shoot! I just realized what what Captain Park reminded me of. He pulled the Judge Sargent. He's like, it's definitely not hit the ground. It's definitely not. It's like it's not in the tree. It's not. Don't look up, no matter what. It's like, well,
Yeah,
why do you keep looking up?
Captain Park was so pissed at Woosaw because he said he had ADD one day when he stepped on the boat.
Yeah, freaking crocodiles. So it was yeah, so that made me laugh so hard. Yeah, I just think that we're about to like, okay, let's get the boat going. We can get the boat going between the two of us. Me and this drone pilot, we'll figure that out. And then we're gonna come across the paths of a red jumpsuit soon, and we're gonna say, "Oh, sir, that's one of them." Hey, he's gonna be like, "Hey, I got the answers," but they're in hot pursuit. That's the one thing that I'll say is everybody is on the case. Like nothing is moving in silence. There's no secrecy here. Everybody's caught at this point. It's funny because the front man is getting, well, I guess it's the front man, right? It's still getting these phone calls,
Yeah.
or is it the manager who's
So
like,
so the manager was the one that was talking to the soldiers to pursue 246 and
mm-hmm.
Noel. Inho was getting the call directly, and that's the other thing as well that I'd either forgotten about or was confused about. That I didn't remember that there was another boat. I guess it makes sense because there
There's
were
two
so
boats,
many
yeah.
people that there were two boats, but like boat 2 has been taken care of. They wiped out everybody. I don't know how much in proximity boat 2 is into boat 1. I don't know. Is there a non-zero chance that like the, shady captain of boat 2 tries to come aboard boat 1 to finish the job?
He told them to kill everybody. He
Yeah.
said, "Hey, okay, well, handle it. They're on the way here. Make sure everybody's dead. Abort the mission. So I think his goal should be that. Now whether or not he's able to do that, who knows? Maybe he's the one who's distracted by 246, and he has a side mission. But all signs are pointing to the island if we can get the people there. Noel is already there. She's scaling the side of a mountain currently, trying to get back into the Squid Game. We did not know that this young woman, like, we knew she had a certain set of skills, right? Because she got
Yeah.
hired for the Squid Game. But she has a lot of skills. Like, this lady has a lot of skills for
She's
someone who was working at a
scrappy.
theme
I
park.
mean, remember, she was like a member under the regime of North Korea and like
Mm-hmm.
escaped by her own whims. She shot her commander and killed him. Like, this woman has her wits about her, but yeah, she's going like full Jason Bourne here, scaling the
Mm-hmm.
cliff, completely freehand, no equipment needed. As yeah, it gets discovered as she's on her way out. Like, A, you got given a little boat, so you're not really going to get anywhere. And B, oh, I know everything about the fact that you absconded with a player for whatever reason. And so she decides to make her own sacrifice, decides to leave, the pursuit of escape behind, however fraught it may be, to basically be like, you go ahead, get off the island, get to help. I'm going to go back for some deep seated revenge here. And I have to imagine, Chappell, that she is coming just straight for the manager's office. She threatened him with a bad time. Now it's time to finally deliver on it.
This war is being fought below the Squid Game war. It's
Yeah.
like Gi-hun is fighting the real battle up here. He's taking out the front man. She's down here mad at her supervisor. Like, she came back to get revenge on him because he's awful, and he basically plotted against 246's family. He's like, I know you have a kid who has cancer, and I know you're going to the cancer ward. She said, all right, turn the boat around. I'm about to go handle this. I like her as a mercenary who is going to do this work, but to me, it's still where her moral compass lies. You signed up for this
Yeah.
job. And now, because I don't know if it's because you have a personal relationship with this man or because you just don't agree with the organ harvesting, but now you're like, yeah, I applied for this job, but I don't like it. I'm about to tear the job apart. Like, I didn't mind killing people and all that kind of stuff, but this is a bridge too far for me. I'm done. And so I don't know if she's now the new Gi-hun, where she's now the one who's supposed to be trying to take down the machine, later on. Like, I'm assuming that he will end the Squid Game here, but if he doesn't, I think he already has a next up for the person who would be trying to infiltrate and take over.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued too as to like whether her focus is singular in the form of, again, just taking out this manager and like tying up any loose ends that might be connected back to her, or if she really is just like, F it, take it all down, take out as many people as possible. I mean, we know that she is going to go incredibly rogue and take out as many soldiers as possible. She had no problem doing that in the
Mm-hmm.
operating room. But again, to your point, there is this pure irony of like, they're not completely innocent people, but like, I don't know. None of these soldiers, I think, signed up for that particular part of the job. You're not even taking out the manager as much as you're also taking out your fellow employees who have their own stories. Again, it's very similar to the games that are happening within the island of like, you are within this workforce with a bunch of strangers, and you, in this certain perspective, want to be the sole survivor, and it involves you doing some incredibly guilty things to a bunch of innocent people.
Yeah, how is she any better than the other people in the red jumpsuits? Just because she decided to save 246? Okay, but you still showed up, you still murdered these people, you did your job. I'm assuming you were getting paid for it. So now that you've decided you don't like to work here anymore, all these people who are still going to be working there, they have to die. And I guess we're just supposed to be okay with that. This is the whole story. So I'm trying to figure out like what her arc actually leads to,
Yeah.
because she's accomplished her first goal, right? The primary goal of getting this man off the island. She did that. She's also put a stop, for the most part, to the organ harvesting. Maybe she feels like if I take out the manager, that'll stop that altogether, and we can go back to just normal killing people. Like
Yeah,
maybe
let's get
that's
back to
it.
where the Squid Game used to be. Its roots in brutalistic murder.
Take me back to God's country, please, now. And so I
And she
think there's a
scaled the
part of that.
Morgan Wallen.
I think there's a part of that in her, like where she's like, get things back to where they're supposed to be. The problem is she was always a part of the problem too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there is a fitting ending for someone like her, or she is someone that we should not have drafted in the death draft.
Well, not to mention as well the fact that, as the manager brings up, like, they have all these people information on file.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess if she felt that if she killed the manager, everyone would assume 246 is dead, which honestly might be the case. No, there was one pink suit that like looked into it and found out that, the person in the jumpsuit found in the basement was the surgeon instead of the player. Because otherwise, you mentioned this with Inho, like, aren't they just going to hunt down this guy? They know where he lives. They know down to the room in the hospital where his
Mm-hmm.
daughter is currently fighting this illness. Like, they could just easily track him down unless he's able to find some sort of form of witness protection and just go completely off the grid as soon as he hits the land.
Can they not track her too? Once this week is over and Squid Game ends, she's going back to her normal life. And I'm sure after she has done so much damage to the organization, they're not just going to be like, all right, let her go. I feel
Yep.
like she too now has a blood feud with this entire industry. And it's probably behooves her to figure out a way to just destroy it altogether. So I don't know. I think she's gone so far down this path that there's no like normalcy that she's going to be able to return to that doesn't involve the Squid Game completely ending.
So it seems like we are in for a bloodbath on multiple parts of the island, or so has been forecasted. But will Inho's proposal end up getting accepted? It's like every finale of The Bachelor all rolled into one, but it is not the finale tomorrow. It will be the second to last episode of Squid Game season 3 that Chappell and I will be back to cover. I imagine, again, assuming Gi-hun does not go through with what Inho asked him to do, then we will see the final game. We might see even the results of the final game, depending on how quickly it gets wrapped up. I agree that I think we are going to see maybe quite literally a head-on collision between Junho heading to the island and 246 heading away from the island, as we finally might get a reunion of the brothers after so long. So lots of exciting stuff, a lot of propulsive motion going on in Squid Game, as it should be, leading into its last 2 episodes. And I cannot wait to see what happens.
Me neither. I'm very excited. 2 more episodes left, and then that's the end of the book called Squid Game. We're done. That's the entire story. Now they probably will make room for whatever spinoffs they want to do, but for what we've been told, this is the end of the series, and they actually have to put an end on it. And I love when shows have to do that, when they have to define
Yeah.
an ending that doesn't last 10 or 12 years. We don't need 19 seasons for everything. I honestly was one of the people who said Squid Game was fine with just one season. Season 1 worked perfectly as far as I was concerned. But now that we've kind of reached the home stretch, I'm definitely interested to see whether they stick the landing. I'm always concerned. If I watch a show and it gets all the way to the end and it kind of fumbles, I'll never let Game of Thrones hurt me, like that again. Like that really took me down. So I am completely invested in what happens in the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, we shall see if it ends up limping to the finish line, much like Jung-jae was at the beginning of this episode. But as you mentioned, only two episodes left, and we shall see what happens to Gi-hun, to Junho, to Noel, and to this colorful cast of characters as the day will dawn on the final day of the games tomorrow. Thank you all so much for listening. If you've stopped down and you haven't watched What Happens Next, let us know your thoughts, your guesses as to what the final game might be, what the fates of these characters might entail, and we will hopefully get into it all tomorrow. Until then, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.